Welcome to You Are Your Brand. Let's talk with your host. I'm Felicia Shakespeare. I am your host. So thank you for being here again today. What a wonderful day to be alive. What a wonderful day to just have hope. What a wonderful day to just have something new start, something fresh. So once again, we're always excited to come to you. Once again, we are here on the She Is Still Dope Network, a network for specifically purpose-driven women, and the first one that was created for them. And that is who we are. That's who I am. That's who you are. So once again, thank you for being here. So I am so excited as always to come to you with something new, something exciting, something that's on my heart and mind because of the fact that you are just that important, right? You are important to not just the future, you're important to God. The part that you play is critical, and I just want you to even just take a moment and think about how important it is that you are in your purpose, how important it is that you are your brand, how important it is that you get to the point where you clearly understand what you are supposed to be doing in this season. And you heard me say in this season because our seasons evolve. It's just like the seasons of nature. We have summer. Where I live, we have all four seasons: summer, spring, fall, winter. Summer, spring, fall, winter. All of those are here. And long and short, each season requires something different, right? It requires a different approach. It requires a different set of ways to be prepared. Especially living here in the city of Chicago. We are known as what? Chi-Town, right? But we've had and been known to have some of the coldest weather, coldest winters in particular. And be honest with you, sometimes here you can literally have a winter in the summer. I'll never forget one year on the 4th of July, I was wearing a jacket in downtown. It was just that cold. But the point I want to go back to is whatever season that you're in, what it requires a level of preparation, right? You can't go into the winter season unprepared if you don't have your heating system. This is the time right now for those here. If you're going to look into things for the winter, this is really the season to start looking at your gutters, looking at, as I said, the insulation, whatever it is that you need done. You don't wait until winter, right, to prepare for winter. You get prepared. And same thing, when all that is over, when we're so excited now to hit those warm months, you're not going to walk out right now in August with a winter coat on, because why? That's not the season for that, right? So I just want you to all understand there is a time. Even the Bible tells us there's a season, there's time and seasons for everything under the sun. So there's always something that we're in, and we just have to recognize the time and the season that we're in. So even as I was just thinking about that analogy too, about preparation in this season, I was thinking of the ant. Right now the ants are preparing for winter. So many things that are parallel to this. It's so basic, and a lot of times we miss the signs. We don't gather the signs. So what season are you in? That's what I would ask you today. What season are you in? Have you taken the time to gauge the season, take the temperature of the season? Each season requires something different. If I'm in a season of what am I talking about? Preparation. I'm not going to be visible, right? Preparation means I'm preparing. I'm sort of like underground, right? I'm behind the scenes. I'm getting myself ready. I'm getting myself in position. So what are you doing right now in the season that you're in? So the first question is, do you know what season you're in? Do you understand the temperature? Have you gauged what you should be doing at this time to take yourself to the next level? Because as I said, it's going to take work. It's going to, and that's what preparation is. It's intentional work. It's intentional acknowledgement of where you are. It's intentional acknowledgement of where you're going. So so you're working in different phases. Although you know where you are, you are thinking about where you're going. So we have to be like literally in two different spaces at the same time. We're at where we're at, but we're always thinking ahead of where we're going, right? So we have to have a vision and clarity on the seasons that we're in order to be prepared for the next level. So I would encourage you today to really take a full assessment, even right now, while you are listening to this show, just go ahead and jot down some things. What are some things that are I would say your markers? What are some of the things that you even said you would do? Even going back to goal setting, and of course, some people I don't call it resolutions, but it doesn't matter if you do call it a resolution. It's ultimately a goal. So if you set some New Year's resolutions, and if you set some goals, and you came to 2021, what are some of the things that you said you would do towards accomplishing where you want to be? What are some of the things you said you wanted to do? And have you started? Where are you on the spectrum? I'm almost thinking like a timeline. Where are you on the timeline? So that's what we're doing today. We're just taking an inventory today. We're just taking a pause, right? And we're just going to think about where we are and what it's going to take to get us over. What is it going to take to get you over? So we've been talking a lot about, basic things about your character. We've been talking about your thought process, the aspect of which is a component of character, integrity, all the things that it takes to build the internal pieces, right? We've been focusing a lot on the internal parts. But as you are continuing on, what I always say, you are your brand, right? You are always showing up. You are a representation, right? People are seeing you. And at the end of the day, and the beginning of the day, they are literally seeing you. So how are you showing up? That's what I want to talk about today. So even the pieces that you need as far as the visual components of your brand, the bottom line is we are judged by our first impressions. Who's heard that before? First impressions are lasting impressions. We've heard that many times over. But your first impression many times will have people size you up. So it is critical that you think about that. So I can even think right now as I'm talking about this, who's ever went to you just want to take a quick run to the grocery store. And that was the day that you ran into someone that you may have not wanted to see that day. Because you're not necessarily feeling like you're in your best space, physically, because you weren't thinking about maybe this would be the day that I would see so-and-so. So that's why we have to think about the content we're doing, the content that we're creating, and the concepts that we're creating, right? So the content, we're going to talk about two things: the content and the concepts too. So as you're taking the inventory today, you're going to think about where you want to be. I would say by the end of 2021, go back to your goals. What if you haven't made any? Well, today is the day. It's time to carve out specific details about where you want to go, as in where you see yourself, as in what do you want the end result to be. A lot of times, and I know in the education sector, and I think even in the corporate sector, that's called backwards planning. So what is backwards planning? It's like you have the end result in mind. You see it exactly what it should be and how you want it to come forward and exist. But backwards planning meaning, okay, now I got to go through the steps. What would it take for me what are all the steps that it's going to take for me to get to that point? So when I think of, once again, back to my point of concepts and content, I'm thinking of a shift, so where do? You just have to start where you are, right? When I think of the aspect of your brand, and then specifically the aspect of conception, of course, that goes back to what? Perception. That's the physical piece of who you are that you're bringing to the table. So what do you want people to think when they see you? What do you want them to think? Professional? Do you want them to think fun? Do you want them to think casual? What is it that you want to portray? Who's ever seen, I can't think of the name, I think his name is Farrah Gray. I think it's a young man. He's not a boy anymore. But I know he was one of the first young people that I've ever seen do so many things on a larger level. Of course, he's a grown man now. But I believe he was like a kid millionaire. I don't want to get the age wrong. I have to look that up. But he became a millionaire at a very young age here in the city of Chicago, just by being consistent, okay, with his perception and how he presented himself. If I could recall, there are some folks that he might have been one of them too, that how he dressed, he wore suits. Some young people already know what they want to do and want to be, and kudos to those families and those parents that are encouraging. So never discourage your child to be who they are. When I say that you guard and govern, of course, you teach them biblical principles. We're not going to compromise. But what I'm saying is, and that's what I could always appreciate even about my mom, how even though we were always engaged in things, involving the church, for example, we were very solid as far as you had the Thursday night prayer service, the Saturday night Holy Ghost service, and then the Friday night service, and of course you're gonna be there all day Sunday. I'm telling you, I was that kid that was drug into all, and I won't just say me and my brothers. We were always in those situations where we were just engulfed, and I have no regrets, of course. But what I think about, though, on the other side of that is how my mom always had a balance. She was like, you're going to participate in school, so when it came down to sports, when it came down to the activities that I had interest in, not only her, but her and my father, they encouraged us to still do the things in me particular. So I was able to go to court, go on trips with the choir, because they knew I love to sing. I know y'all didn't know that yet, but I do sing. I love to sing. And then the other aspect of, just being able to, once again, be a part of sports. I was part of the track team. I played softball in high school. So those were just things that they made sure I had a balance. So long and short, always cultivate, those things in your life. You have to cultivate those interests. Of course, we're not those children that were just a little point of wisdom, but cultivate the young people in your lives, encourage them. Even I think I talked about this, and if I hadn't, even the aspect of what I'm doing now, having the ability to actually share live and speak to you. There was a time that I was so stricken with fear as a youth. I'll never forget, around 18 years old. But that was the time, though, that it was being cultivated. I was being pushed, so the adults in my life saw more in me. And in that same forum and format, it's like, okay, I want you to do this, say the announcements or read this or get up and do MC that. And, it was just like, and I promise you, the time at that time, the fear, because I didn't have the concept of what I wanted to do and be, and I didn't have my purpose all the way clear. But, long and short, over time, everything, it's the old adage, practice makes perfect, over time. So that's not going to, regardless of what you're called to do, I'm going to repeat, regardless of what you're called to do, it will never negate the requirement to put the work in, to practice, to do the research, to do all the things that are in your control, everything that's in your power. So back to concept and perception. Once again, your perception is everything, how you come across. So we're learning about, like I said, we've learned about the aspect of character. We've learned about the aspect of even how we communicate. So today we're talking a little bit more about even your presentation. You have to be conscientious, of your audience. I was just even in a situation where we're talking about personal branding in this group. And long and short, some of the folks in that group were from other countries and cultures. Even right now, you may be watching me from a country way somewhere else or another culture, and we have to be mindful of how we're showing up, right? I have to be mindful. There's just certain things you just have to consider, not that you're being legalistic, but there's a form of respect. Everything doesn't go in every culture. So even as you consider the fact that, you are a brand, and as you're building your business, of course, you're part of that business. And the perceptions that you have, you have to consider, okay, am I just going to be a local business, and is really what I'm doing kind of behind the scenes. What would that perception require? Or am I going to be on a national level? What would that require? Am I going to have to do advertisements? Are there things I'm going to have to do as far as interviews, being publicly seen? And then the bigger one, the global piece. That's where I was headed. Is this a global brand? Is this something that you want to go global? So a lot of times we think so limited, but once again, when you're thinking global and you're thinking culturally, everyone is not like you. America is one little small country. The USA, our country, United States of America is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about North America. We know North America is a continent, right? Continent, I'm sorry. North America is a continent. But when I'm thinking about the country that we are in, even when we think about, I always think about how we have our Canadian neighbors, and of course Mexico is below. We rarely hear about Canada in any negative light, right? Or do we really know what's going on below? So at the end of the day, cultures are totally different. They're not ran exactly the same in any part of the world. So when you're thinking of your personal brand and you're thinking about your business brand as well, you have to think about what perception am I leaving? Are there things that I need to make universal, that I know will won't be offensive potentially in other parts of the world, and that's why, even for our country, it's so important that we understand the value of what we have even in our country, because that's why so many people are trying to get here. But at the end of the day, we have values. There's things that we do here, but it's not necessarily what's taken across the world. There are some countries that don't even have social media, and as far as allowing their citizens to have access, there's so many things that we use even for branding purposes that we seem to forget, and it's just not at the forefront of our mind. It's nothing wrong. They're not, it's nothing that you've done wrong, but it's time to think deeper into the fact that we're gonna spend even She Is Still Dope TV. The whole concept is global. The ministry here and the network is global. So at the end of the day, that is the perspective, that not that we're gonna change and compromise, but at the end of the day, what are the things that will position us, your show, my show, our shows, or whatever, to reach and gain further interest? That's what we have to be thinking about, even as we come on with the content that we have. And that's what I'm going to move on to, the content, right? I was thinking even today how, as a brand, a lot of times people, depending on what they're doing, of course, it will be different requirements. Everyone's not going to be on social media. But for those of you who are, or those of you who want to have more of a public presence, I would say start where you are. You have to get out there. You have to be conscientious, but use what you have. Use and record. Do the things that you need to do to practice and prepare yourself. Do the things on a consistent basis. And I think consistency is key, to the content that you're creating for anything. As even as simple as like we always share. I shared in this show, I'm going to be here next week. Me being consistent in this process is critical for me to grow and for you all to have confidence that you can show up and I'm going to be here, right? So what does consistency create? Consistency creates confidence. So you have confidence in the ones that are trusting your work, the ones that are drawn to what you're messaging. So what do you have to do? You have to do something. You have to, first of all, you have to show up, right? You can't have a perception or a persona or a concept if it's not visible, right? Whatever God has given you, I really believe He has made it so simple in this day and time where you can literally cut on a camera from anywhere in the world, literally any part of your home, even in the public, in the park, in your car, wherever, and you can start recording content to create, to share, right? So of course, we're talking about how you come across, but ultimately you're going to come across authentic. But yes, how you choose what you're doing, even since we've been in COVID-19, since the pandemic, I've been thinking about, one thing that came up, how people, they just film anywhere, right, in their homes. And you have to think about like even right now, I'm conscientious of the background that I have and where I'm sitting it in my home, because there's certain things that shouldn't be in the background, right? And there's certain things that are okay. So you have to be conscientious about your personal brand and what message you're giving, in every light of it. So back to my point of the content, once again, use the tools that you have. Everyone, right now, if you're watching me, you're probably on Facebook, or if you're doing a rewind, you're going to see it on Facebook or YouTube or Roku or Fire Stick, wherever you're watching, right? At the end of the day, it's content, right? But you have content, and I keep hearing this is currently the creator's time. The beautiful thing about it, if you want to create a show, if you want to create a broadcast, if you want to create anything, whatever, a message as you're building your business, let's say you're in the beauty industry, you can take photographs, you can take video clips. What's going viral now? Short videos. What do we have? Reels. I mean, there's so many things. TikTok, okay? There's so many different platforms out here. But you have to, number one, get to one, be consistent. Maybe you can be consistent on multiple. I see some people, they're everywhere. They're on everything. And kudos to them, because they've figured out the formula that works for them. But at the end of the day, beginning of the day, always think about the content that you're creating, and think about the fact that it is representing you, and you have to be conscientious of the presence, your literal physical presence, how you have dressed, how you are looking, how you prepared yourself to approach the audience that you are called to. Any final thoughts on this? Just continue once again to show up consistently, be conscientious of what you're doing and how you're doing it. I think it's really the bottom line, what I'm saying here. Be conscientious, right? Be consistent, be intentional, and be clear, right? Be clear on your messaging. Another thing, and like I said, we're all in a state of evolution. No, I would not sit here and make you think that I've arrived and I know everything. But guess what? I do know what I do know. So you can write that down. The one thing about your personal brand, and one of my mentors always shared this. She's like, Felicia, you've gotten to a point, and then there are people there, you've gotten to a point, and then I'm gonna say Felicia, and I'm gonna say you've gotten to a point, and guess what? What you do know, you do know. No one can take that from you, and there is someone that you can pull forward that may not be you and don't know the things that you know, and yet you can add value to. So that is where, once again, understanding your brand, understanding your purpose comes into play. And that's where, once again, just taking the key tools to make the shift, right? To be conscious of what you're giving off, your content, the things that you're doing, even in the written word. I always say this, I'll never forget, it was the advice given to me years ago when I started my corporate career. Never write anything that everyone can't read, and never say anything that everyone can't hear. And of course, now visually, you don't record anything that you can't look at proudly at a later time. You never know, so you never want to write in anger. You never want to post things prematurely. You always want to be conscientious if is this something that can damage me down the road, or is this something that I can live with, and it's truly something that I don't mind if it came back 10 years later. How many times have you seen the media now? A lot of troubleshooting from celebrities because they said something 10, 15 years ago. Someone dug it up, and now they're holding it against them. And it has literally cost some people millions of dollars or $1 million opportunity. When I say that, as in something that they really wanted to do that they couldn't do. I think of one celebrity, I'm not going to name any names, I think of one celebrity in particular, had an opportunity to host and be a part of a major platform, but because of the comments and it was a tweet, it wasn't even visual, it was just words. So that alone lets you know the power of your voice, right? the power of the voice of your brand. So those words came back to haunt him, and he had to once again relinquish an opportunity that would be considered a dream of a lifetime because of something that he did not consider. So as we wrap up, once again, just want to encourage you to just continue to move forward. I want to encourage you to just start where you are. I want to encourage you to once again think about the perception that you're bringing, this, and ultimately, what season are you in? That's what we started off talking about. The only way you're going to know what perception or what concept or what you want to leave people with as far as the aura of who you are is you have to know the season that you're in. So if you're in a season of incubating, just stay right there and work on those goals. But if you're in a season where you are budding, just think of a flower, how it has its, when you plant the first of all, the seed is underground, right? Uh, the seed is underground, and then you have the budding, and it's just growing, and bit by bit, and piece by piece, and ultimately a full bloom. So you just have to understand and be intentional about understanding and knowing the season that you're in, at what stage you're at. So that even in that respect, if that helps you think of it better, the season or the stage you're at in the process, and then be intentional to nurture that space. Be intentional to grow, to do the things, to fertilize, to water it, to do the work, right? You have to do the work. You can't plant a garden and don't show up from you plant it in April, May, the seeds, and you don't go see about it until August. It's not going to happen. You have to see about those seeds on a daily basis. So then after you've identified the season once again, or the stage, and then what phase you need to nurture that, then in order for it to grow. And then from there, once again, be conscientious. Be conscientious of it, be intentional about it. And then lastly, you gotta get yourself out there. You gotta do the content. You gotta, if you're in that, ultimately in that season, you want to put those pieces to the show. Once again, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Felicia Shakespeare. Once again, please feel free to follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Felicia Shakespeare. Also, we have some more platforms we'll be talking about in the future that you can follow me. And there's some great and amazing announcements that are coming, and also in the very near future. So I want you to just once again continue to support not only this show. Of course, what's your weekly assignment? Tell a friend, right? Bring someone else. Sit down and tell a friend. You can also inbox me if you ever have any questions. But once again, continue to support the network. Once again, there are so many different amazing opportunities to get engaged with She Is So Dope. Most importantly, right now, the membership, it is free. So everybody say free 99. Go ahead and join the network. You want to take a part while everything's at this stage. Sometimes I think we miss our moment because we don't know the season that we're in. So I just saw the flyer pop up. Once again, join in the membership. Support. And once again, I thank you for your support. I thank you for showing up. And please let me know if this show is being a blessing to you. Also, you have the opportunity to give me some topic information. If you have specific topics that you want to hear about, I would love to hear about that as well. So thank you again for tuning in this week. And until next time, I'll see you next Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on She Is So Dope TV. Have a great week, everyone.